We've been looking at how we can grow in wisdom, and I've been looking particularly at the lives of Daniel and of Joseph in the Old Testament. And last week we looked at no matter what the circumstance, whether Joseph was in prison or whether he was as a slave in Potiphar's house, or whether Daniel was taken in captivity in Babylon, and the difficulty of being enslaved, it never changed their number one priority, and that was their relationship with God. Their first thought was God and how to honor God and how to love God. And they recognized that the source of their wisdom, the source of their genius, the ability to interpret dreams and release the strategies and wisdoms of heaven, all came in this moment out of their relationship with God. But more than that, it's that circumstance that I want to talk about today, because in the difficulty that they had, I mean, think about it. You've been taken as a young boy like Daniel had, taken from his home and then enslaved in a Babylonian culture, immersed in Babylonian culture, and living basically owned by another person, or the same thing with Joseph, where he had everything and lost everything partly because of his arrogance, but then he found himself also enslaved in the home of Potiphar, or then accused falsely and then in a prison. And it's in that place of the circumstance that we begin to see something, that both Daniel and Joseph lived their life with excellence. Joseph served Potiphar so well that he became in charge of Potiphar's household. And then when he was thrown in prison, he served so well in the prison that he was given charge over the whole prison. Same thing with Daniel. Daniel, despite his circumstances, did everything. And it said that he was 10 times more wise. He had 10 times more fruit than all the magicians and the wise men in Babylon. He did everything with excellence, but he never compromised his relationship with God. And this is where I want to begin to help you understand. Wisdom starts by being faithful with the little. Wisdom starts by being the servant of all. Jesus says, whoever wants to be first has to be last and the servant of all. And as you begin to serve others, as if you take the little situation that you're in, even that the circumstances may not be bad, may not be good, in fact, it may be terrible, but you serve with excellence, you give your best, you always don't complain, you don't argue, but you simply are looking to grow the little that you have and to multiply it. That excellence, that initiative taking, that servant heart will always promote you, will always grow you. And you see, it's those experiences of doing things well in the bad times that become your wisdom in the future. And you see, for Joseph and for Daniel, they both had situations where they had to stand before the king and before the rulers, and they had a moment where they had to give wisdom. For Joseph, it was just simply that he was able to interpret Pharaoh's dream and give the strategies, the wisdom to know how Egypt was going to survive through famine. For Daniel, he interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and he was able to give that wisdom, to give clarity to a situation. But in both their situations, both Nebuchadnezzar and King Pharaoh looked at them and said, we hear that you can interpret dreams, that you have wisdom. And both of them, they both said, no, I cannot, I'm just a man. But I know someone who can, it's God. And you see, the moment you get to that place where it's less of you and more of God, that's when the wisdom of God began to flow. And all of a sudden, both Joseph and Daniel, because of their wisdom, they were placed in positions of ruling. Daniel was made ruler over Babylon, okay? Joseph was made second to Pharaoh in the whole of Egypt, simply because of wisdom. And you see, wisdom releases the favor of God. And the favor of God allows you to influence. Over the last number of years, I've begun to find myself in circumstances where I am literally ministering and giving wisdom to people in the marketplace. People are literally handling hundreds of millions of dollars a day. And through the influence, we're beginning to see transformation in different ways. One person told me that out of the wisdom that I gave him 3 years ago, he said over 6.9 million people have heard the gospel and 2.3 million people have got saved. He's told me that over 160,000 pastors have been trained and over 58,000 churches have been planted, simply because in a 2 or 3 minute moment of wisdom, I was able to bring clarity and wisdom and strategy. See, I often say to my wife, I can't take credit for anything that comes out of my mouth. That's the wisdom of God. You see, when you operate in wisdom, you realize that it's not about me. It's all about Him. And in a moment, He may position you with rulers, with people in authority, and He will give you a moment of influence. And it's in that place where you say, is it about me? Is it about, hey, look at me and how wise I am? Or is it simply, I can't do it, but I know someone who can? And it's in that moment that wisdom comes, and it's in that moment that influence begins to take place, and you get positioned to transform the world around you. This is Steve Chua, praying that this series on wisdom will begin to influence you so that you would grow in stature, that you would give excellence, be that servant, be faithful with a little. Because if you are happy being last, God's going to promote you to be first. And the wisdom of God that will flow through you will change the world around you.